Hi, I'm John.
This is Nick.
And I'm Andrew, and welcome to Lucky Number episode 13 of JNA Podcast. This episode, we want to talk about, since it's been the 4th of July the past coming weekend, John picked the topic of political factions and tribalism. Obviously, that's probably going to partake to put our political system here, but tribalism's got a broad spectrum, I'm sure, that we're going to cover in this podcast. What made you want to decide to pick this podcast, John?
Uh, it's something I've been noticing more and more in American politics, in the media and whatnot like that. And even in the media, there's a lot of that's it, tribalism or political factioning, a lot of hopping on the bandwagon, voting within party lines, stuff like that. And it genuinely feels uh, like there's almost a kind of a cold civil war going on between all the different political parties. You've got, the Democrats for whom Trump is basically Satan, and then you've got the Republicans for whom, Trump is basically the second coming of Jesus. And uh, I'll be completely honest, I have no love for the president, but at the same time, it's hard to sit here and just look at him being picked at as the ultimate enemy. And you see that a lot in just other stuff too. If you have a different opinion of me, you're wrong. As far as politics, one big thing that I've recently been taking umbrage with is the whole if you don't like it, then leave it mentality. And yeah, so I figured, on a day where our founding fathers were fed up with shit and decided they were going to change things, and that would be, a good time to put that into the discourse. So, what do y'all think?
Nick?
Well, I think both sides are just as corrupt as the other.
Mm,
That's my opinion on it. And it's sad to say, and this is really sad, it's basically picking the best of two evils.
mm-hmm,
I mean, they're at each other's throat so much. I mean, think about the Trump administration over the last 3.5 years or so. Every time the guy takes a left turn or a right turn, he's got another allegation thrown at him. Over
mm,
the last 3.5 years, he's had to deal with hearings and different stupid crap that's just being thrown at him, as he really had the chance to do his job. Some would say yes, and he's done a great job. Some would say no, he's just an idiot and all this crap. But I mean, in my opinion, he's just the best of evils. You know what I mean? It was either him or Hillary Clinton. Who you had to choose from. And I don't know what you guys have been hearing about Hillary Clinton, but she's not been doing too good the last couple months. She's in court in September, I think it is, for some serious allegations. So we'll see what happens with that. But I mean, that's what you had to really pick from.
mm,
You could say that you had others to pick from, but they had no chance. You know what I mean? And yes, if you don't really vote for him, if you don't really put his word out there, then how could he have a chance, right? Well,
mm-hmm.
unfortunately, majority of the country is either one or two ways, or they're one way. They're either left or they're right, and that's it. I
Yeah.
mean, they're really not. When's the last time an independent was really in question of winning the president?
1800s.
Thank you. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? It's sad, by the way. It's really sad, because I do believe that there are some pretty decent, or the people that did run for the independent. Andrew Yang was one
Mm,
of them, and I feel that he was pretty good. He had some really good ideas, but he had no chance, man. Nobody even looked his way at all, and that's just sad to say.
yeah.
Yeah, he even picked the Democrat Party so he would have a better chance. He wanted to run as an independent.
Mm,
Um, but he knew if he ran around as an independent, he would have even less of a chance than if he ran as a Democrat. I thought I'm with you on that, Nick. I thought he had a lot of great ideas. Everybody looked at the UBI, the Universal Basic Income, and just pretty much scared him off as a socialist, which
mm-hmm.
that's a word that I don't even think people really even understand what it means. But the Democrats and Republicans use it to scare anybody off, like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot of things into it. To be honest with you, I just think people are fucking dumb as shit. They really don't know anything about anything. They pretend like they know a lot. They don't even know their own American history. To be honest, like 9 times out of 10, when I talk with people, they bring up facts that aren't even facts, or just made up things that they got taught in middle school or what the hell ever, that was completely fabricated lies. They never really learned their own American history. Thomas Jefferson even thought that the United States Constitution should be rewritten every 19 years for the newer generation. I think it's silly to have these rules made up in 1776, and we're supposed to be using them here 200 years, almost 250 years later and shit. I think that's just silly, to be honest with you.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I've kind of thought, or I think I even mentioned this on a previous podcast. It is a bit kind of silly to expect uh, any kind of law to really be viable for I would say even more than 50 years. That's it. Just everything changes so quickly, kind of like what we talked about on the last JNA, is
Yeah.
that techno or like laws written for technology are still using the framework of what is or what isn't constitutional, and that's a whole Wild West kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I find it interesting that you bring up the whole or rewriting the Constitution every 19 years.
That's what Thomas Jefferson thought. He thought just basically what we're saying right now, that things
Mm,
change, times change, and he knew that even back then. And he thought that every 19 years it should be rewritten for the newer generation, and so on and so forth. Of course, obviously that didn't take,
mm,
but uh, but when it comes to the tribalism, I mean, it it's just such a huge broad spectrum, because it even goes outside of the political system. I mean, you
mm,
even go to like sport teams and just basically anything. I mean, even in video games, John, how often you hear console wars or the PC master race? Like everybody's got to stick to their one side, and like I'm all with it for teams and everything like that. But it
mm,
seems like nowadays people are taking it way too far.
indeed.
They don't. Back in the day, you used to have, like, if you were a Democrat and Republican, don't get me wrong, you would get into arguments, but you wouldn't be at each other's throats ready to hang each other from a fucking tree. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm,
It seems like more time we go into 2020, the more people are becoming, instead of being on a political party team, they're being extremists.
there's a Go ahead, Nick.
I was just about going to elaborate. I mean, that's what you're finding nowadays, man. You got extreme left, extreme right, and sad to say, I mean, especially with in my opinion, and I like the way John put it in one of our early podcasts. I don't even know if we released that one, honestly. You kind of hang just left of center, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just right of center, okay. And
Mm,
I watched this stuff on Facebook and different videos on YouTube and different people that put up blogs and things like that. I mean, both sides are ridiculous when it comes to the extremists.
yeah.
I mean, I've literally sat there and watched a video of someone say about Trump, and the question was, if he really shot someone on Fifth Avenue dead, would you still vote for him? The dumbass said yes. Okay,
Mm,
the dumbass really, really said yes. And then you see things like, oh, you should drink bleach, that Trump said, and stupid crap like that. It's ridiculous. He's a moron, in my opinion. But then the left, they take it a whole different direction. I mean, just the things that they kind of speak about and the things that they kind of believe in is just like craziness. I don't know if you guys ever listen. I know Andrew, he's listened to Ben Shapiro a little bit, and
mhm,
I like listening to Ben Shapiro because some of when he does his little speeches to the universities and all that, you kind of hear what our generation, so to speak, maybe a little younger, but kind of our
mm.
generation is like their train of thought on the political system and what they kind of believe in. And all of it is just craziness, man, when it comes to abortion, transgender, and all craziness crap like that. So I don't know. I think both sides are just as bad as the other.
Pat Shapiro's is extremist himself.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ben Shapiro is honestly uh, he's not completely alt right, but let's face it, he's kind of leaning that way. Uh, his whole, his whole shtick, I think, is he's trying to actually use a leftist arguing platform for right wing agendas.
Hard to call him an extremist if that's the case. Then you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, at risk of taking things too far in a discussion about tribalism and political factioning, one of the Nazi playbook or one of the Nazi tricks in their playbook was use the thing that your enemy does against them.
I've seen the guy say like pretty extreme things, man. Like he'll like 1 minute he'll sit there and say that he thinks that gay people deserve all the rights in the world, and the next thing he'll say that they are all gonna burn in hell. like, like he contradicts himself a lot, but I guess you're gonna get that if you get on air and like you talk a lot. Like I don't know the guy, man, so I'm not gonna sit here and like attack him or anything like that. I'm just saying from like a lot of the things I've seen him say, he seems like an extremist himself. But what you were talking about, Nick, with the leftists and how they could be extreme, you don't even have to watch Ben Shapiro to see that. Or you can just go on, hop on YouTube and just and just type the word "triggered." And you'll see like endless videos of like the leftists like being triggered. Like I have one of my favorite ones is the one with the ladies inside the restaurant, and like she's like having like a breakdown about how they're using eggs. She's all freaking out because she's like, "You're killing these eggs," not knowing that the eggs need to be like I don't know if people know this, but eggs need to be like fertilized in order for them to actually form into chickens and hatch. If they're not fertilized, then there's no embryo, there's nothing inside there. So she's sitting there freaking out about like unfertilized eggs. That's what I'm talking about. Is like both sides are just fucking stupid. Like they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. They just want to be heard, but they don't even know what they want to say.
Well, nowadays it's basically, it's a competition anymore than it is trying to kind of just have two different ideas and kind of into a compromise on it. Nowadays it's just like my way is right, your way sucks, and the other way vice versa. And never going to get anything done if you can't come to some kind of compromise. Now I get that you have the two different parties like that, or obviously more than two, but two biggest part of the parties. I get why you do, but in the same sense, it's mainly to have different ideas and kind of a best solution per those ideas. And nowadays it's just one sucks, one the other one's best, or the other way around. It's a competition anymore. It's not really in the best interest of the country. It's just like, what I mean, it's who can win this, what I mean, that's all it is. And nowadays, I mean, you spoke of the Constitution, and name me one political government at this point that you believe actually follows the Constitution.
Oh, the Constitution's out the window, buddy. It has been for a while.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, if our government doesn't even follow the Constitution, why do they expect us as citizens to keep following the Constitution? It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. It's mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, you see, like on every side, man. You always constantly see them contradicting themselves, and like it baffles me. It literally blows my mind. Like you'll see, like the righties be like, "Trump's going to stand up for our right to bear arms and follow the Constitution to the word," and then they'll sit the White House will sit there and attack. Well, with tear gas, mind you, tear gas is not even allowed in the fucking military. But attack a peaceful protest with tear gas, which violates everything in the Constitution. Like in the Constitution, it clearly states that you're allowed to have a right to peaceful protest. It clearly fucking states that. But now all the righties are all cheering on all these fucking like peaceful protests being broken up violently. Like it mind blows me. I like you sit there and defend the Constitution left and right 99% of the time. Here it is being violated, and you're still cheering for it. Like you're sitting there talking about your rights being taken away. It's happening right in front of you, dumbass.
Did you guys see the recent videos? Everybody knows that George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd by the police officer, is basically what struck this big protests and riots, right? But did you guys see? And by the way, it's the leftists that are feeding into this shit more or less than the right, from my observation. Do you guys see the clips with Nancy Pelosi and Schumer? They couldn't even remember George Floyd's name. Do you remember that?
Oh no, I didn't see that.
See that? Nancy Pelosi was basically insinuating that there should be some kind of like holiday, but a day in remembrance of George Floyd, but she called him George Kirby. And Schumer said basically the same thing, but he said George Taylor. You're advocating for the guy and you can't even remember his name. What the hell is that?
I don't even know. Like, that's another one when it comes to those left and rights is Nancy Pelosi. Like, that's a character all on its own, but like the Democrats sit there and defend her left and right just as much as the Republicans would defend Donald Trump, and that's like one I just don't get. Like, you guys want these kind of people on your team?
Mhm.
You guys want this? You guys want this person representing your team? Like, it blows my mind.
I don't even know how Nancy Pelosi's been in some kind of political government this long. I have no clue. I have no clue. It's some of the stuff she says and does blows my mind. But I guess there's people that agree with her. But I just anybody I talk to about Nancy Pelosi, they think like she's a bull or something. So I have no clue how she's been in office this long. And it's like 30 some years, by the way. It's not like she's been there like 10 years. It's like 30 something years.
I would posit the same argument to anybody who's had a long tenure in the American government, and take a drink, but future podcast episode. Um, I think that's part of. I've heard a lot of people advocating for term limits for Congress and Senate, or for Congress. I think that's actually one of the platforms that Trump is campaigning on, and it's one that I do actually happen to agree with. If I don't agree with any of his other policies, but there is a most evident disconnect between the people that are supposed to be running our country and the people who actually live in it. It's kind of like politicians live in an entirely different world sometimes.
Oh yeah, they definitely do. They get
Um,
perks and they get security. They're not living in our day-to-day life that we're living, and that's for damn sure. I mean, that's well put.
I was just about to correct you. Sometimes you mean all the time.
No kidding. I don't. They don't live in our world at all. I think they're completely disconnected from it. I think the only views they see our world are at rallies and like social media and stuff like that. Like, I don't think a lot of them even remember what it's like being a normal person. I mean, even with a lot of them, especially when you go with like the Clintons and the
Mm,
Bushes and then like that shit runs deep, man. Like, they went to prep schools and they went to private schools and they went to like special college and all that kinds of shit. Like 99% of the politicians were never a normal person ever in their entire life.
all right.
They never knew what it was like to have to worry about rent and like worry about gas and like all this kinds of stuff that like regular 9-to-5ers like us that make up the general population have to deal with the day-to-day life. It's politicians have no idea what the hell that kind of life is like. They're used to rallies and like speeches and they've been dealing with that ever since they've been in fucking prep school at the age of 5.
Mm,
No, that's the reason why I like a person like Andrew Yang when he goes and runs for president, because it's not a politician guy. He's a regular guy. That guy, it's an entrepreneur that started from the ground up. You know what I mean? His
mm,
parents came over here from obviously from China. That's probably one of the other reasons why people wanted to attack him. But he was his own kind of self-made guy. Like, he knew what it was like for a lot of us, and he kind of seen what the direction this country is going. I think he was trying to fix that, and that's the reason why I was kind of behind the guy. But
mm.
that's a good point when you're talking about the politicians. They like John. They don't even know who we are. To us, I mean, we are just like votes to them, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by it's a competition anymore. I mean, they all just want to say things that get your vote. They're really not, in my opinion, they're not really concentrating on helping the country, or they don't have the best interests of the country at heart. They just want your vote so they can stay in power for as long as humanly possible. And I agree, by the way, when it comes to the term limits on the Senate and the Congress, because I mean, if you think about it, from what I know about the system and how the system works, the president doesn't really make major decisions that a lot of people think. It's Congress that really makes the decisions, right?
All right.
It's a vote, right? So yes, same thing with the president. I mean, we'll understand why they have term limits on the president is because you can't put someone in power for that long without it going to their head, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Congress, if they have just as much, if not just a little bit more power than the actual president himself, why the hell isn't there term limits on them? You know what I mean? That's just my opinion on it, honestly. And from what I kind of take on it, the president is more of the face of the country more than a decision maker. You know what I mean?
The president does have, excuse me, the president is, or the role of the president is part of it, or rather part of it is representation on the broader scale. But there are things that have to, like if the president wants to write something into law, then it needs to go through Congress. If Congress decides to vote on a law, then it needs to be ratified by the president, depending on what manner of law it is. And that's part of the whole checks and balances system that the framers designed the American government with. Um, but I mean, it is also all kind of a clusterfuck. I mean, we've seen Trump issue executive orders, which are kind of like a presidential get out of Congress card, and we have seen um, basically backlash from that, and we have seen the judicial branch, which is supposed to be part or a balancing party when it comes to interactions between the executive, meaning the president, and the congressional branch. Uh, but yeah, it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah, I've seen Trump pass pretty much the same exact things that Obama have done, and then to get applaud for it.
Mhm.
When the same faction is sitting there like with blowtorches ready to go at Obama for passing damn near the same exact executive orders and everything. Blows my mind.
It's
Yeah, they used to I remember they used to get at Obama all the time because Obama was taking too many vacation hours.
mm,
I don't know. The Democrats did it when Bush was in office too. Bush was taking too many vacation hours. Now Trump is taking the most vacation hours out of any president for the first 4-year term, and there's like political silence from the right.
yeah.
Nobody's saying anything. I mean, me and Nick, I don't know if anybody, with me and Nick live right next to, I work in Jupiter where Trump goes to play golf. I know when he goes there because I shut down the roads every single time. Right? Every time he goes there, a lot. It's not every once in a while thing. I mean, he hasn't since this pandemic has happened, but before the pandemic, that guy was there all the time.
Mm,
I think it's funny because one of the things that Trump was kind of preaching about during his administration, I should say during the 2016 presidential election, was complaining about how much vacation that Obama did take, and oh, he needs to get to work, this and that, and then here he goes taking more vacations than freaking the president. From what I know in history, it's like holy crap,
Yeah.
he
mhm,
contradicts himself on like a daily basis, and again, I find myself defending Trump more than I do kind of bashing him. I want everybody to understand that I am not for Trump running this country. I am not for it at all. However, based on the other side of the coin and the other people that you have to choose from, do I believe he's better than them? I do believe that, yes. And that's why I find myself defending him more than bashing him. However, the guy does it to himself. I mean, the guy is
mm,
just a complete fucking idiot, in my opinion. I mean, it's
Isn't
it's mind-boggling things he say. Go ahead.
Isn't that a problem though? That we're constantly having to pick from the lesser of two evils? I mean, that should be a problem that the citizens should be outraged by.
mm,
Stop giving us idiots and criminals. We don't want them running this damn country. Like why is that so hard to get? Like, and why are people so caught up on defending your lesser of the evil? I mean, if you got to realize that like we are like in this country we're like a huge ass community, and like as a community I think we should like at least agree that, like, hey, like I understand we have our different political views and everything like that, but we at least have to have somebody up there that's not a dumbass and it's not a criminal. Can we agree on that? You know what I
mm,
mean? Like, actually, you think it's not something it would be too hard to agree upon, but here we are in 2020.
Fortunately, you are correct. I agree. I don't think neither one of the two parties at this point, there hasn't been anybody that come out. And Andrew Yang, I liked him
mhm.
for more reasons of what I'm about to say, but I liked him simply because he wasn't in politics his whole life.
All
That's why
right.
a lot of people graduated toward Trump, by the way. because he wasn't in politics his entire career. He was a new face. He was a businessman that is successful to that extent, and that's what was supposed to be for Trump. That's what the hype was for Trump when he first ran for president in 2016. However, he's a fucking egotistical asshole. he just wants nothing but to better himself. He doesn't give a fuck about me, you, or anybody else. He cares about his goddamn self, and you can tell just by his demeanor. He's up there speaking. You can tell by just the way he presents himself. There's nothing for any American other than himself and maybe his kids. Maybe. I say maybe because he is that egotistical, in my opinion.
Or I guess to kind of sum up a little bit in a couple of terms or sayings rather, mostly just because it's funny. There is a YouTube channel that I like to listen to. They do rap music, and one of the lines they had was, "By the power vested in me by this giant bald bird, the president shall not be the shiniest of two turds."
That's fun.
I like that.
And
I like Tulsi Gabbard too, man. I thought she was alright. Like, I just thought she was too young, but I like her background. I like her policies, and when I hear her talk, she doesn't sound like a bullshit artist. Like, she sounds like she's just being honest and direct. You know what I mean? She doesn't sound like a politician to me.
Right.
I think she got it. Anytime I see the Democrats and Republicans both hate on the same person, I tend to like that person.
Amen to that.
Well, what's your opinion on Jo Jorgensen, who's been making the rounds a lot in social media recently? Have you guys done any looking up on her, or
on who?
I guess not. Jo Jorgensen.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I'd be lying if I said I did, honestly. So why don't you enlighten us, John?
She's the recent independent candidate who's really been kind of making the rounds. Like I've seen a lot of a lot of people touting her as the third option, and she's, I think, at least in my sphere of social media and stuff like that, she's getting a little bit more traction in terms of as an independent candidate. And I would like to say I think maybe that might be a better avenue for independent candidates rather than I guess trying to do the whole election circuit. But it's that's a future podcast topic.
Take your
But like some of the main points of her platform are that we're over 23 trillion dollars in debts. We have a lot of involvement in foreign wars and foreign affairs. The fact that healthcare right now is absolutely fucking bonkers. The fact that we have the highest imprisonment rate in the world.
By far.
Hmm?
By far.
Yeah.
The numbers are staggering.
It's crazy. Like, you hear of other countries shutting down prisons because they literally don't have enough bodies to make it worth them keeping it operating. And here we are, overcrowded prisons, and I don't know.
Justice system. Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't know how much you guys have looked into this, but America as a country, we have something of a reliance on prison labor, and yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. They sit there and they're like, how come like people can't make money in this country? And that's one of the reasons why is because the prisoners are taking up a lot of the labor. They don't have that. Like I said, people just don't know. They're just stupid, or I guess the better word would be like ignorant to the facts. I mean, that's another one of them. Is like a lot of prisoners are taking up a lot of our labor. Our criminal justice system is just a fucking joke. Like, there's no other way to put it that, man. Like, how we let pedophiles off of such minor fucking things, but we're locking up non-violent drug offenders is beyond me, dude. As a country, how we're not outraged by it just fucking blows my mind. I have legit seen pedophiles like to rape 10-year-old kids and get like 2 years in jail and out. And then I've seen people that get busted with like 1 ounce of fucking weed and they're locked up for like 5 years. Like it's fucking mind-boggling, man. I never, I don't even know. It gets me to loss of words, man. I can't believe the way our criminal justice system is. It's almost like it's built around for pedophiles to like get out. I don't.
Well, think of all the.
And
It's a,
Epstein goes and suicides himself.
well, yeah, I was just about to say something of that nature. Is think of our system right now. I mean, but a lot of the political power that we have, there's allegations of child molestation and sex with children, and I mean, you got the whole island that was resorted to sex with kids, and yeah, Epstein went and killed himself, so that kind of went to the wayshore. But I mean, think of our political system right now. I mean, almost every time anybody of power, at least Clintons, and there's many different people of some kind of power in the political system at this point. There's allegations of some kind of sexual crime against them. Whether it be with kids or just women or men or whatever. It's crazy. So I mean, yeah, it's up on
Watch
the
that
wrist.
Epstein documentary on Netflix. Fucking
Check that
nuts,
out.
dude. It's fucking nuts. Like the guy had an island just dedicated to having politicians come there and document them, like whatever he would document, what the hell they liked and everything, and he would take it all down. Like, hey, if ever anything ever happened to me, I got this on you. It's like how the guy became so damn powerful. Just basically out of nowhere. He had a giant ass portrait of Bill Clinton in a dress, smiling and pointing like it on his wall, like basically like, look, bitch, I own you. You know what I mean? Like just crazy shit, man. Like I think our political system is just like overturned by pedophiles and people like that, man. Especially like crazy ass, creepy Joe Sniffer. Like the way, like he's just creepy as hell, man. Like you could spend all day on YouTube looking at how he's like always touching on girls and like smelling their hair. Like that's a perfect point. Like what we were just brought up earlier. Like normal people don't fucking act like that, man. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I seen you doing that to one of my nieces. I'm gonna drop you, son.
Right.
Straight up, dude. I ain't playing. That's fucking creepy, dude. What the hell you grabbing on her shoulders and smelling her hair, motherfucker? You just met her.
That's dumb, man. And I don't know how true this is because I've seen it on multiple occasions and I've read articles, but again, articles are basically an opinion, basically someone's opinion. So I don't know how true this is, but from what I know, come September when Hillary Clinton goes to trial in regards to these emails that she so-called deleted, they found some kind of evidence linking her and her family, and to that island. In regards to like for years, they've been going back and forth funding it, and just themselves kind of like sex trafficking kids, and I mean it goes deep, man. And I don't know how true it is, so don't quote me on this, but if it is even any way, shape, or form somewhat true, that speaks volume about the political system right now. That speaks volume because they've been doing this shit for years, and how many people are affiliated with it. That's just crazy, man.
Dude, Bill Clinton was on. This is fucking like I think it's like in an interview. Bill Clinton said he barely even knew the guy, but flew with him, documented it on private jets 28 fucking times. 28 goddamn times, dude. Like you're gonna tell me you barely know somebody, but you fucking flew with them on a private jet 28 times? Like get the fuck out of here, you lying son of a bitch.
But I guess to peel it back a little bit, okay, we've sit here and kind of expounded on the sins of Joe Biden, and yet there is still that political faction of I guess I've seen a lot of hashtag vote blue no matter who, and that's it. It's like
that's sad.
it is,
Terrible.
and yet I find myself in the position of probably still voting for Joe Biden just because I do genuinely think that, well, we've already come out and said it. Like Trump is an idiot. That much is, I guess, I would argue, undebatable. But even if he was just an idiot, I still don't think he has the proper temperament nor does he execute the office of the president with the proper decorum. I think. Um, I genuinely don't think a president should have 8 hours to sit around and blow up Twitter,
Yeah.
and that's not
Yeah, how much
even
he's on Twitter is disturbing.
that's
It
not
is.
even detailing, all of the other stuff he's thrown up there on Twitter. It's just kind of uh, the dude should not be president. Say what you will
Yeah,
about what he's done, but he doesn't have uh he doesn't have the right demeanor or temperament to be president.
I think
I am.
Biden's any better, dude. Like honestly, like 90% of the time, Biden don't even look like he could complete sentences.
Eh,
First of all, Biden has mistaken his wife for his sister. Okay?
Yeah.
And by the
Guy's
way,
on a
John,
verge of dementia.
I love you, man. I'm just strongly disagree with you on this. And again, I love you. I do. But all the things you're saying against Trump, which I do agree, is he fit to run this country? Absolutely not. To everybody that's listening, I am not on the side of Trump. I am not for Trump whatsoever. But if you had to choose between Biden and Trump, I'm sorry, Trump's going to win that argument all day long.
Can't we just
For
vote
a couple,
independent?
we can absolutely, and I don't vote, by the way, because I don't agree with anybody to that extent. I don't know them well enough to know, whether they're a good fit for the president. So I choose myself not to vote unless I strongly feel for someone, because I don't want to, vote for someone. Next thing you know, I find out that they're just a bunch of fucking liars, because that's what the whole political system is right now. Is do anything that they can, tell you anything that they can to get your vote.
Yeah.
Promise you everything under the sun just to get your vote, and that is
Even if your team wins,
both
the
sides.
electoral college is gonna fucking butt rape you anyways.
And future podcast episode. Take a drink.
It's too early to take a drink, by the way. God damn it! Would you stop saying that?
Well, hey man, if you guys checked out our comic book and anime podcast that we did for Nerdborn, you'll understand the meme now.
Yeah. So
But
every time that gotta come up, I'm gonna tell people to take a drink.
It's funny. John, again, I love you, man, but I disagree with that. I don't think Biden would be. I mean, first of all, the guy's been in politics now for what, 40-something years?
yeah,
Been vice president. I mean, if he's had a chance or an opportunity to make changes or to, do anything of what he's trying to do, you'd think that he would have done it by now. I mean, especially being vice president, because that's a big role to take without having any kind of,
mhm.
success, in other words. So, again, love you. I disagree with it, though. But hey.
This again, this is the problem though. The lesser of two evils, and you guys are sitting there backing up your lesser of the evil.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Why don't we just fucking vote independent? That's the reason why the independent never wins. It's because everybody's always like, "Oh, the independent's never going to win anyway." So what's the point of voting for him? What was this independent person you were talking about, John?
Jo Jorgensen.
I don't know that. I would have to look that up. I did hear that there was an independent person that was stirring off the pot and actually seeming like they could have a shot, but I didn't know who it was. So I guess that's my fault that I never looked it up.
But yeah, she's been getting a lot of traction in social media, at least in my little corner of the internet. Um, I don't, I as someone who is slightly left of center, I don't think her policies are aggressive enough. So here we are talking again about the lesser of a given evil, but that's it. By the same token, here
Yeah,
we
we
are.
should start a hash. Yeah, we should start a hashtag called "Vote Independent for Independence."
That would actually
You never
probably
know.
be a pretty good one.
You never
Yeah.
know how far that could go.
Fuck yeah! When I post this shit on Twitter, I'm gonna put that.
Everybody
start
comment. Everybody
Mhm.
comment. Do you think that's a good idea or not? Everybody, let us know what you think about that.
You heard it
For
here
real, man.
first.
Yeah,
Independent for independence.
hell yeah. And we'll put the number 4 instead of 4, so it makes it real simple for people, so it picks up easier.
Ooh.
I gotta do shit like that, or else people get confused. But
I got a question.
what's that, Nick?
I got a question to pose. What do you guys think about this? Everybody's trying to change the name of Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben and take down these statues of, historic figures. What do you guys really think of that? I know it's really not on topic, but it's been a big deal now for a month or so, and I just want to hear what you guys think about that.
Well, people are getting tribal on that too.
Yeah, I was actually about to say the exact same, that we're seeing, excuse me, splits along party lines when it comes to that thing, or that, and the whole Black Lives Matter movement in general. You hear a lot of counter arguments. All lives matter is the popular one, which future podcast episode. Take a drink. Excuse me. Personally, as far as the statues go, yeah, those kind of need to go. Someone who brought up a a good counter example. The only surviving, I guess, edifice, for lack of a better word, of something like the Holocaust is literally just one Jewish prisoner acting in all of the wrong ways. He had his hands in his pocket, which he wasn't supposed to do. He had a hat on, which wasn't supposed to be done. He was, uh, his body posture was that of looking someone directly in the eyes, which they weren't supposed to do. I will actually have to figure out where that was, but we have a lot of statues of Civil War generals, Civil War politicians, stuff like that, and not in the sense of the remembrance of that, of a of a tumultuous time in American history, but celebrating these. And say what you will about celebrating the losers, but it's also kind of slavery was in fact a big point of the Civil War. And here we are, erecting statues to honor men who were basically pro-slavery.
I think the Republicans are absolutely hilarious. I just posted a meme not too long ago about this. Republicans are like, it was the Democrats that they were like, that wanted that slaves, and it was Republicans that freed the slaves. And you go to take down all the Confederate shit, and they're like, don't touch my heritage. Like, fucking Republicans crack me up when it comes to that shit, man. Like, if it's got to deal with racism, it's got to fucking go. Period. There ain't no room for it's 2020, man. There ain't no room for racism. If we had like they're even doing this thing when it comes to like the Cleveland Indians and stuff like that. We're thinking about changing their names or the Redskins, and everybody's outraged by it. But I find it ironic that every single person that's outraged is fucking white. Shut up! This ain't about you. This ain't about your race, dude. If this was called Paleface, if it was the Washington Palefaces, then we could listen to your fucking point of view. But it's not called the Washington Palefaces. It's called the Washington Redskins. Hey, let's talk to the Native Americans. You guys find this shit offensive? Yes, we have for a long time. Okay, let's change this shit. Why is this even a debate? Like it's like they're looking for they're looking for like little subtle hints to stay racist. Like, oh, hey, let me make a bitch about this name just because I grew up with it and I got used to this racism. So let's keep it. Like, fuck you, old man. That's how I feel about that shit.
I'm glad we all agree. By the way, I think this is one of the first times we actually all agreed on this, because I agree, man. I mean, I understand American history and I get that, but you can find some better way to show appreciation or to express a historic figure other than putting a statue of somebody that was pro-slavery. I mean, to me, it's ridiculous. I agree they should take it all down, because it is 2020, man. We're not slaves, they're not slaves anymore. So it's like that. I could see why that would offend them. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous.
Racism has got to go. It's been too long.
Get that shit out.
For real, man. Anything to do with racism in this country has got to fucking go. And I'm all with the Black Lives Matters movement. I really hope that it awakens. Like, I hear this shit all the time from these racist pricks. Oh, white people get hurt more. There's more white people, you fucks. Like, there's more white people. That's the reason. And white people are fucking crazy. You ever been to the South and seen a Southern man interact with a fucking policeman? They're insane. Like, they're fucking drunk and they'll take their taser and they don't get hurt. They don't get shot. But yet you can hop on YouTube and like watch videos all day with mother getting shot right in front of their children and shit like that. Shit's got to change. Can't keep having this shit happen.
Preach that shit, bro. Preach that shit.
For real, man. This shit angers me, man, because they're sitting there acting like, well, I'm not racist. I got black friends. No, you don't. You ain't got black fun. Shut your ass up, you racist motherfucker. You're just saying this shit. It's like I call it closet racism. That's all it is. You're sitting there and you're saying all this stuff because you know you're racist, but you're too scared to actually come out there because you know people won't like you. Fuckers.
These things are said. Some of the and okay, maybe this makes me a bad person, but some of the things like Aunt Jemima and things like that, I am admittedly a little bit more on the fence about because maybe it is coming from a place of ignorance that I don't understand everything around the character and stuff like that. But at the same time, like part of me wants to ask the question, when do we finally let that terrible part of our history go and stop, um, reacting to it with outright objection? And I realize this is probably going to make me sound terrible, but if you keep picking at a scab, the wound never heals.
I heard Morgan Freeman say something like this not too long ago. I think it was a meme. I don't think he actually said it, but it was a meme that, of course, Morgan Freeman was there. But he said, you know how to stop racism? Stop talking about it.
That was actually a CNN interview.
Whatever it was. I thought it was a meme, honestly, but whatever. I seen it a while ago. Basically, if you stop saying that a black guy died from a cop instead of saying that guy, an innocent man, died from a cop, that's when you stop racism. It makes sense, honestly, if you think about it, because it's you don't look in color. I'm sorry to say it like that, and you don't sit there and say a black guy got shot by a cop. No, an innocent man got shot by a cop. If you look at it that way, will racism kind of go away? If people start thinking that way a lot more, but kind of dwindle away, and that's a good point, honestly.
I have to agree with you, Nick. I remember being a kid and first learning about like slavery and stuff like that. When I was in school, and I remember blowing my mind because like the black kids that were in my classroom, like I never thought them any different whatsoever. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't taught that. I think racism is taught. I don't think that shit's I don't think that shit's genetic, or I don't think people are just naturally racist. I think that shit is fucking taught to you. Because I sure the hell wasn't racist when I was a kid. Like, and when I remember the first time I learned about it, it blew my fucking mind. I was like, why would anybody do this to anybody? Period. The hell does it matter if their skin looks a little bit different? I mean, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like that happens in my family. Like I'm white as hell, so is my dad. But you go look at my brother; he's a little bit tanner. Like, what the fuck's the skin got to do with anything?
On that topic, I have another little saying. All of humanity, we eat, sleep, shit, piss, fucking die the same. Why you so caught up on the rapper? But
Seriously.
I guess to expound on that, and okay, here I am, maybe potentially a terrible person, but if you take a giant step back and look at racism from the perspective of human interaction, uh, humans in general, when it comes to someone who is different than me, we tend to regard them suspiciously by nature because it's a survival mechanism. It was okay. It doesn't have to necessarily be a person, but this thing is different, or this creature or being is different. So why is that? That said, racism as we see it now is definitely something that is institutionalized, something that is definitely taught, and it's a heritage or not heritage. It's an inherited thing more than anything. I would or I would reckon, not in the sense that you inherit it, genetically, but in the sense that if your parents are a little bit racist, then as the children comes out a little bit racist, and that perpetuates and perpetuates.
I think
Oh,
what it usually look on these podcasts like are pretty outspoken about like a lot of these things that happen and stuff like that. But when it comes to like this Black Lives Matter movement and things like this, I tend to stay silent, man, because like we don't like all three of us. We're just fucking three white guys, man. We don't know what the hell they do. We don't know. We don't. Have you ever dealt with being anybody being racist towards you and like in America at all? Like it was like 1% like of
Mhm.
your life. You know what I mean? Like if even if you go to Detroit, like you might experience it a little bit more. Like what are you doing, white boy? But have you ever not gotten a job because you're white? Have you ever gotten like patted down and your shoes taken off and like it's damn near butt naked stripped because you're white or anything like that? No. Then that's white privilege, and
Mm.
all three of us experienced that. So I don't think like we really have too much to say. I think we need to listen to our African Americans and listen to them. Like they tried speaking out when they were kneeling at the fucking NFL. Like when they started kneeling in NFL and everybody started getting outraged about it. They tried doing this shit peacefully. Y'all motherfuckers didn't listen.
Mm.
You know,
I,
like
I have a different opinion about the kneeling in the NFL because I'm sorry, but you can't be on a clock at work and do something that hurts your company image, and that's okay. So you can't do that. And I'm sorry, but I don't agree with the fact that you can kneel as you're an NFL player during national televised event. I don't think you have that opportunity or you have the point in time at that time and place to preach your protest or to preach your argument. It is not
are we a
okay,
free
in my
country?
opinion.
If you tell them no, are we a free country?
When you're at a job, when you have a job, when you're employed by an employer, you do have to follow their rules. You do have to basically do what they say. You go to your job
Well,
and do
to
me
an
a favor.
extent, you still have rights.
Mhm.
You still have rights, but they have the right to fire you if you do that. You get it? So the rights go both ways here.
So you're just making it sound like when you work for somebody that it's just a dictatorship and you have to do every single
Oh,
thing. It's not like that here in America. We're
oh,
supposed to be free.
not saying that at all. I'm not trying to be that extreme, but when you're doing something that hurts the company image, unfortunately, what they're doing is in their right to do. You are correct, and I agree with what they're doing. If they were doing that outside their house or outside the Capitol Hill or anywhere else beside when they're clocked in at work, hurting the company image, because that's what they were doing. People were still to this day protesting against the NFL, not watching the NFL. The NFL has actually lost a lot of revenue because of that. You're doing that to hurt your company image. Yes, the employer has the right to say stop because
Yeah,
you're
it lost a
hurting
lot.
my face.
It lost a lot of racist people. That's what it lost.
I'm not disagreeing with why they're protesting. A lot of people, when I have this argument with people are like, "Oh, you just think that that they shouldn't be able to do that." No, it's not true. They're at work. It's the reason why you have the right to
I
protest, but
disagree.
nobody
Yeah.
protests when they're at work. Nobody does that because you wouldn't have a job. Yes, it is your right to still do that if you want. It's you're not going to have a job that long, which is why people don't do that. I'm not saying
I
you have to agree with them like the dictatorship. That's taking it way to the extreme. I'm not saying that. I am saying is that there is a fine line between protesting on your own free time than protesting on the clock, and especially if it's hurting company image. Think of if you were an employer, dude. If you were an
I
employer and you
disagree.
seen your revenue.
Yeah, I disagree. I think it's all within their right to kneel peacefully.
Uh,
Like if it's losing revenue, then it's losing racist people. So fuck them.
I guess to try and be the middling voice in here. Certainly, I'm of the personal belief that it's uh, as an employee of anything, it is incumbent upon you to do things to maintain your employment. But by the same token, if you are given a national platform to spread a message, and it's a message that you genuinely and strongly believe in, um, who is anybody really to uh, I guess take the ability from that for you? And it's worth also pointing out that uh, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from freedom from uh, oh my God, the word. Come
Consequences.
on. I'm supposed to be a
Consequences.
podcaster. Why can't I do this? Freedom from consequences. So yes, like I agree with you, Nick. It, it's not wrong that it might cost him his job, but by the same token, they have given him a platform and he's using it to talk about something he, or to make a gesture concerning something that he genuinely and strongly believes about. And
Yeah,
I guess, would you guys say that, him getting fired for that is a freedom of speech violation? Just thoughts and opinions.
I think it's
Technically, he didn't
wrong
get
that
fired.
other people did it too, and nobody else got fired. It was just him.
Mm,
Well, I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he got fired. He just didn't renew his contract, so he was a free agent. Nobody wanted to hire him because of what people think is attention seeking. And
ah,
he still goes
AKA
on to this
fired.
day. Oh no, that's not
AKA
fired.
fired.
If your
That's just
contract is up,
that's
that's not
basically
firing you.
it's basically the NFL equivalent of getting fired.
No, I don't know about all that.
Okay, he couldn't get hired.
True. Here you go.
Can you say that?
True.
Can we say it like that? He couldn't get hired.
He wouldn't renew his contract, so yes, you're correct.
mm,
I don't. I thought I was wrong. I think like everybody's like, oh, he just wasn't that good of a quarterback. Shut up. Yes, he was. Like, are you telling me that somebody out there there's so many crappy quarterbacks? I guess the backup is like he could have went anywhere. I think it was just like it just became too much of a political thing, and it devolved into that tribalism that we're talking about now. People are
mm,
like, stand up for the flag, or they're like this. Like it wasn't even about the flag. Like it wasn't. I think all these people that are bitching about standing up for the flag, none of them are doing anything to help any vets at all in their entire fucking life. All that stand up and respect your vets. Well, how about all 200,000 homeless vets are in the streets right now? Why
mm,
don't you go help them? Instead of burning all your Nike stuff because they signed with Kaepernick, why don't you go give it to one of those homeless vets because they're cold as shit and they could use some help? So that's what I'm talking about with people being stupid and they're just completely ignorant to the facts. You're sitting there and you're bitching left and right to stand for the flag and like stand up for your vets, but you do nothing in this country to help them.
mm,
I agree. I agree. By the way, I agree with what you're saying about the people thinking that it's disrespectful to the flag. It really has nothing to do with the flag, and I agree with that. I agree with the fact on why they're kneeling. I 100% do. I
mm,
just don't think that the time and the place that they're doing it is the right platform. And to elaborate on what you were saying, John, in regards to it's televised and it's on a national platform, any one of those NFL players could do that on a national platform because of who they are. An NFL player, you can go, at their home and have an a episode of MTV Cribs and do the same thing. You can go anywhere outside in public and do that, and people are going to listen and watch simply because of who they are, especially like a guy like Colin Kaepernick, because he did go to the Super Bowl. So there's paparazzi following them type of guys everywhere.
mm,
There is many opportunities that they had and that they do have to praise and to speak what they're trying to do and to what they're trying to say. There's many opportunities that they have outside of the fact of hurting your employer's company, and that's basically what I'm saying. And that's the only argument I have against it is if I can't do stuff like that, why should you have the luxury to? Even though you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars to play a game, already
mm,
Well,
overpaid. You're
well,
being
the
a spoiled
counter
brat at the same time.
Well, the counter argument to that is like how many times before all this stuff started, if you heard people bitch that, well, I'm tired of hearing an athlete using this platform to like talk about himself or like promote his image and that, and never does anything positive. Or here comes an athlete trying to do something positive with his platform and he gets shut down because of it.
I
you
honestly
can't
don't see
appease the
too many.
masses.
I
Mhm.
don't see too many people bitching about them not trying to do something good for community, because I mean they have NBA cares and they have things with the NFL that there's many players and coaches that give to charity that do good things for the community. I mean, look at JJ Watt with the hurricane relief for Harvey. The guy raised millions and millions and millions of dollars for the relief of Hurricane Harvey. And
Like
it
all
goes
of
up,
them.
it goes over and beyond that. LeBron James has built literally an entire school for children.
Hmm.
I mean, it goes, and there's so much more that it goes with it. They have them like, I don't know if it's every week. They have like charity events like that, but they have them at least once a month. I see it all the time that different players, even the Lions. I see Darius Slay and Matthew Stafford and seen many players do something of the nature of charity events, or doing something like going to the hospitals with the children, giving them Christmas presents or birthday presents, or giving them tickets to the game to come see them, or buying them jerseys. I mean, I see that more times than I hear people bitch and complain about why they're not doing more for the community. I don't hear that too many times, honestly.
Well, I think it wasn't necessarily that they weren't doing anything for the community, but that they were using their platform outside of the function of, sports or whatever the hell their platform might be, to promote themselves or promote an image. And personally, I'm kind of in the camp that why the fuck does a celebrity opinion matter more than, anybody else's? Um,
Amen to that.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Amen to that.
and I guess maybe that's also kind of part of the problem, but it's a difficult topic, I would say.
So I want to clarify on something real quick. Nick,
Mm,
it is in a lot of their NFL contracts that they're supposed to do the X amount of the hours and stuff like that for community to help promote the NFL image.
hmm,
I'm not saying that it's 100% of what they've what JJ Watt did. That was not in his NFL contract. You know what I mean? I'm not saying 100% of what they're doing is because it's in their contract, but a lot of it, yeah, it's because of that.
hmm.
I didn't know that, honestly.
Yeah. But what is one of the biggest things that you wanted to bring up when you thought about this topic there, John?
I guess something to get your guys' opinions on, because this is something I've heard for a long time and it kind of died down for a little bit, but it's recently starting to come back up, and it's the love it or leave it mentality, that you can either love, or that you can love America as it is right now, or you can leave it. And I have some very strong opinions about this, but I'd like to hear your guys's first.
Oh, I've heard that so many times. If you don't like America, you get out.
Mm,
like, I don't know. I think that's just stupidity, dude. To be honest with you, people like to sit there and if you don't like America, you could just leave. What about changing it? Is that not an option? You just gotta love it or leave it. You can't change things. So we've been changing things that we changed. The reason why we became America is because we changed. We
mm,
decided, hey, we don't like those red cup bastards overseas. We want to change and make our own thing. We've been changing ever since. Change is supposed to be a good thing. Change is inevitable. Change leads to good things. I don't understand why people are so afraid of change all the fucking time. But I'm with that. If we don't love something, okay, or something's not working, or if we see the flaws in something, there's no shame in being hey, the old system was fucking everything up. It's time for a change. Let's change things up and make it better. I don't
mm,
understand why there's such taboo to that. I don't understand. If you say anything about the Constitution, hey, there's a thing in that Constitution, is that really right to nowadays? How dare you? That's un-American. You need to get out. You know
mm.
what I mean? I honestly, I can't stand that.
All right.
I think it's
Um,
un-American, to be honest.
Hmm.
I agree with Andrew. I mean, just because we don't love something, or we doesn't mean we have to just automatically leave. There is another thing that we can do. What we say things to so we can make changes, and that's how we were pretty much founded. You know what I mean?
All right.
Everybody disagreed to that extent. Everybody had different ideas, and we came to a freaking compromise. You know what I mean? So that's just the way that worked. But I also first of all, that argument is stupid. Tell
Mm-hmm.
me that if I don't love this country, get out. If I don't like being here, get out. Well, obviously, if I didn't like being here to that extent, I would get out, right?
All right.
A lot of people say, "Oh, we don't have the money," or this and that. Well, that's a stupid argument. But in the same sense that I do like this country. I may not love it because I don't like the ideas.
Mm,
I like it from what I know better than others. So I might not be the best one to answer this, but argument of saying if you don't love America, if you don't like being here, get the hell out. That's completely invalid. I mean,
mm,
it's stupid to say because of what are we have rights. We have the ability to make changes, and just to elaborate on what Andrew was saying is we have the ability to come together and to make these changes. Now, unfortunately, back then, I assume it was a lot easier to make these changes because it wasn't as corrupt and just to the extent that it is nowadays.
right.
Nowadays,
Yeah,
it's just
I
so
agree
hard to
with
make
you.
changes.
I agree with you 100%, Nick. I like the ideas that America stood for when I learned about it in elementary school.
Mm.
That's what I like. When in elementary school, you're taught that every man is equal. You have a freedom to religion. That everybody's going to be treated equally, and no matter race, skin, and color, then like everybody's going to get their own like segment. Like everybody's going to get their own equal treatment in this country. You're taught that in elementary school. Those ideas about America is what I love. When I grew up and I ended up learning my own American history to find out that's completely fucking horseshit, and none of that was true whatsoever. And they like that over 75% of the people that signed the Declaration of Independence owned and transported slaves, and like you learn about all the stuff that you hear, and you know what I mean. Like I love the idea that I've originally learned about America. That idea, that's what I want. Like what we have now is like a really fucked up version of that idea.
Mm.
And
I guess kind of to tie back to Nerdborn. I'm doing it again. Um, you mentioned, or I don't think we actually mentioned Captain America, but he had a little bit of an arc where he was really kind of done with the American government, and the reconstruction of his character was, standing for the ideals, the
Yeah,
perfect vision for America, if you will. And
the captain.
hmm?
His name was the captain.
Yeah, okay, yeah, as the captain. Um, but to add my own little voice to this, and you will like you're gonna hear me echo Nick and Andrew here, but that's it. This country was founded because we didn't like how shit was going, so we did something about it. And I'd like to also point out that we got loud about it, we got violent about it, we had fucking wars over it, multiple.
So,
Um, if you are really not down with someone trying to change the system or shake up the status quo, then why don't you take your ass over to Russia or China or somewhere like that? Because I'm sure Putin would enjoy or having another person to suck his
subordinate.
cock. Same thing with
oh,
Winnie the
Jesus,
Pooh.
Jesus.
And
Right? The subordinate would have worked just fine.
I know, right? You ain't gotta be so vulgar.
well, hey, the poet knows the effect of the language he uses and uses it to that effect. But certainly, that's if you
To
think
suck cock.
things. uh, I'm just saying, it's a powerful way of putting things.
I
But
guess it does, that
Yeah.
line does kind of jump out.
mm, hey man, speak with impact. But that's it. Change is how we did this, or the whole America thing. So really, just be open to change, be open to having your political view, anything, your views, your beliefs, your ideas. Be open to or to having that challenged. Really, listen to the other side. It's supposed to be e pluribus unum, not e pluribus us and them. Just
Uh,
that's it. You can Something we've brought up quite a bit on this podcast is you can disagree with someone and not have them be your enemy. Like, that's it. You just heard. Me and Nick had or me, Nick, Andrew, all of us, we all had just, a civil disagreement about something. And you know what? We're at the end of the day, I'll still die for these people. Like that, that is the way it is.
yeah. And it's okay to be wrong. It
Mm,
is okay to be wrong, people. It's okay to admit that you were wrong. It's okay to learn and change. Like this idea that we have that like you can't admit that you're wrong. It's like it's a really big reason why the tribalism is in place.
all right.
So it's okay to be wrong, people.
It's okay. On that note, we're gonna wrap this episode up, guys. Everybody's being safe. Please like, subscribe, give some comments in the comment section. Let us know what kind of topics you guys want to listen to. And,